See that up there? That's the coffin of a former resident of Little Gaddesden Manor, up there on the roof. He committed suicide and wasn't allowed to be buried in the churchyard, so he had himself stuck up on the roof of his house. That's a true story, 'tis said. But I'm not going to tell you any more about that today. That was just a little teaser for an upcoming video that I've been trying to make for weeks, if not months now. And being of a slightly obsessive nature, when I get my teeth into something like that, I just find it impossible to do anything else. And it's been very, very difficult finding information on this village, Little Gaddesden, just down the road from where I live. It's a fascinating place with lots of rumours, quite a spooky history, a very unusual history. And it's taken me so long to get the information together, just to even do a mediocre video. I'm not saying that all this time I've spent researching it is going to make some sort of, you know, good video. It's just going to be one of my standard videos, but it's been absolutely impossible to find out what I needed to know. Luckily though, this week I had a phone call from a local author who I'd contacted, a bloke called Roger Bolton. He's a retired TV producer and an ex-Radio 4 presenter who lives here, along with Ronnie Wood, apparently. I'm not sure which house Ronnie Wood lives in, but he lives here somewhere. Back to the point. It's taken me so long to find just the information to do a basic video on this place. I've not been out doing other videos, you might have noticed. I've not done many lately. Last weekend and the weekend before, I was here walking around Little Gaddesden trying to find certain locations, trying to find certain items of interest to include in the video, which I'd read about. Today, I'm just having a quick look. Hopefully I'm going to do this video next weekend. I really hope. Today I'm just taking a little wander down into the Golden Valley there. Just down by Ashridge House there, you've got what they call Golden Valley. Now, apparently somewhere down there there's a very old, disused road, apparently of fine historical brickwork. I don't know how exciting brickwork can really be, but it's worth seeing by all accounts. So I'm just popping down there today to have a quick look. Just get me bearings on a few more little bits and pieces, and soon we'll do this Little Gaddesden video. Have a look at this tree. There you go, look. It's got a whacking great base on it at the bottom of the trunk. But as you make your way up, you see, you've got all of this tangled growth going on. And then some much younger, I mean, they're not young by any means, but some much younger than the base bits of trunk coming up out of it. Looks to me as though that was blown over. I mean, look at that base, that's hundreds of years old. Looks to me as though it was either coppiced or pollarded, or blown over, and it's continued to grow from the break point there, look. It's not an oak and it's not a beech. Most of the trees round here are oaks and beeches. That's neither. But looking around at the leaves on the ground, they're all from the neighbouring oak trees there. So I can't actually tell what species this is. I'm quite ashamed of that, but there you go. And it's got a couple of, it's got puffballs. Look. Oh. There they are. Little puffballs growing out of the base. It's very misty and foggy and frosty today. The Golden Valley is actually looking more silver than gold, but just up there at the end of the pathway, you can probably just make out that's Ashridge House. And running along the bottom here, this is the shallower end of the Golden Valley. It deepens as you head to the east there. I'm just going to walk down to the bottom. We'll head east a little way and have a look. I suspect that might be where the old brickwork might be, because I'm actually quite familiar with this western side of it that heads off towards Ringshaw. I don't know if you remember a few videos back, I did a video called, I think it was called An Odd Roman Road, and it was the old Roman trackway, which is now a bit of a green lane really. It's not suitable for most vehicles. We did a video there where you had the Devil's Bridge, and I explained in that video that the Devil's Bridge was built by one of the Earls of either Bridgewater or Brownlow, same family at the end of the day. They're the people who used to live in that big building there, and own, I think to this day, own most of the land around here. I told you how the Earl built that bridge so that his wife could pass over the peasants without having to see them or smell them, or get her carriage wheels muddy. And this is a continuation of the old track that would have once passed over that bridge. Some of it is now still accessible as a public footpath, including this bit here. Luckily, you are allowed to wander around in these grounds. That was where, back in that video, you'd pass over the Devil's Bridge off there to the east, and that pathway, that track, that old road, it came through here and off in the direction of Witch's Bottom, Witchcraft Hill and Ringshaw. Now that's all going to feature in this upcoming video. That's one of the things that's taken me quite such a long time to find out anything about. Now here, as you can see, there's no old brick road. It's quite neatly mown. But we're heading that way. We'll see if we can find anything that's notable. Everything about this flipping place, it's more questions than answers. I've always believed, I've always presumed, I've read in certain sources, that the old pathway that used to go through here followed the foot of the valley down there. But walking along there just now, look what I've come across. Just off to the side, halfway up the northern face of the valley, we've got a bridge going over a little dip in the land, like a miniature combe almost. The modern road's just off up there. We've got this dip beneath us under this bridge, leading directly off to Ashridge House there. So does that mean that this old road with the brick paving that I was hoping to stumble across, I'm fully prepared to admit I probably won't, does that mean that it was actually here, halfway up the side of the valley, rather than down in the bottom there, as I was led to believe? Here you go, look. It's not just quickly thrown together, somebody's put a fair bit of time and effort into building that. And expense, although a lot of the stuff around here, the expense doesn't really seem to have ever been an issue. I'm going to carry along the bottom of the valley anyway, but keep an eye out up the side there just in case I spot anything else that might make me think that actually that's where the old pathway was. Now I'll probably need to be quite careful making this video that I don't just start telling you all about it and ruining the next video. I probably need to be quite careful not to tell you about how little Gaddesden was, until just a couple of hundred years ago, a dry village. No springs or streams in the village. They were dependent on very deep wells. And even before the wells, people used to have to use this old pathway that I'm following to walk down to the River Gaddesden, where we've been previously and filmed there. Walk down to the River Gaddesden and use the pudding stone crossings down there to collect their water and carry it all the way back up here to Little Gaddesden. It's a good mile or so. Quite a walk, I wouldn't fancy it. I'd always thought that the name Golden Valley was a reference to the wheat fields just off down the other end of the valley by Golden Valley Farm. But looking at it today, I'm beginning to wonder if it's a reference to how the sun just fills the whole place right up. To be honest, whether or not I find any old brick pavements, I couldn't care less. It's just so nice walking in the sun on a frosty day. Must have been a bit of a nightmare having to walk this every day down to the River Gade to fill up your buckets of water and then carry them all the way back to Little Gaddesden. And the last little bit of the journey, just to rub salt into the wound, is uphill back into the village. If that's what they had to do to get their water, I'm guessing they had to do it. I wonder who I would have bumped into walking this 500 years ago. Right, well, call me lazy, but I'm going to call that that. I've walked probably about 3/4 of a mile out of the village down towards the Devil's Bridge, and I'm not seeing anything in the way of old brick paving. It would be nice to see if it is here, but at the end of the day I was only popping out to see if this bit would be worth including in my little Gaddesden video, but it's going to take a while to film that anyway, so I'm certainly not going to be walking this far out of the village just to have a look at some bricks. And maybe I'm on the wrong bit anyway. Like I said, with that little bridge and that footpath that we saw going up the side of the valley there through the trees. I know from looking at old trackways like the Icknield Way that they had various routes anyway. And it would only be really in the summer months that people were using the bottom of valleys as thoroughfares, because in the winter they tend to get very marshy, very wet and nasty, and it would make much more sense to walk along the side of the valley where you've got firmer ground. I wouldn't be surprised. There might well have been 2 or even 3 routes through here historically, up from the River Gade. I'm not disappointed though. That was a lovely little walk, and I think I've got a bit of time to kill today, Saturday morning, so I think what I might do, I'll stop off at the Alford Arms on the way home. That's just round the corner. I think I'll have a pint of Beechwood, and then on the way home I'll pop in and see my mate Sue at the Donkey Sanctuary and tell her what I discovered in my conversation with Roger Bolton earlier this week, because it's her who got me interested in this place in the first place, giving me stories of witchcraft and whatnot, which was all very intriguing. I think I'll do that. I'll go back to the car, have a nice pint, and go and say hello to Sue. Hopefully then, fingers crossed, I'll see you next weekend with my spooky video about Little Gaddesden. See you later.